Hi, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. My name is Beach ASMR. I hope you're well. I hope you're relaxed. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the treble clef and how you can recognize notes on a stave. A stave. Today we're going to learn a little bit about the basics, so we're going to learn some key terms. I thought we would learn how to read the notes on the stave. I've got some rhymes to help us out, and I thought we could have a little practice. But the first thing that I wanted to do today was have a little look at the history behind the treble clef. We're going to have a little look at the history behind the treble clef. As I researched this, I found a whole lot of information on the history of Western notation. Far too much to go over in just one video today and cover what I wanted to cover. However, maybe that could be another video. So, the earliest kind of version of a treble clef was first recorded in 9th century Gregorian chant music. The notation then was known as neume, spelt N-E-U-M-E-S. It was spelt N-E-U-M-E-S. I had to look up the pronunciation for this one. Please excuse my awful handwriting. So, neume was pretty simple dots and dashes, and they indicated a relative change in pitch. So, there was a starting pitch, and the neume indicated relative changes with these dots and the dashes. Initially, there were no lines. These staves did not exist. However, throughout the 10th century and beyond, more and more lines were added by musical scribes. Originally, F and C were used as the starting notes. They used F and they used C, and these were placed at the start of the staves. However, as music with higher pitches began to be composed and played, they started to use a G as well for those that were written in higher pitches. And it was over time that these letters of F, C, and G evolved into the clefs that we know today. In particular, it was G that evolved into the treble clef, and then F became the bass clef, and C became the alto clef, which we don't see much of these days. Now, I've got some guides in front of me, but I'm going to attempt to show you how this G developed into the treble clef, which you can see I've drawn a pretty good one down there. Originally, our G as a clef looked like this, kind of like a little swell, or I think it looks a bit like an incomplete number 6. We then have this much more Gothic design, and these are probably not the most accurate drawings you'll see of these clefs, but I thought I'd give them a go nonetheless. We then evolved, and this one I think is where it starts to look a bit more like an actual treble clef, and it looks something like this. We had the original sign, the original swell, and then we had like a backwards on top, and it looked something a bit like that. As we move on, I think this is a bit of a kind of a regression, but we move on and it became something like this, where we're going to start just in the middle, pop our way up to the top like a kind of reverse 3, and then we're going to loop our way back around here, and we're going to loop it all the way back in here. So we've gone from a little incomplete number 6 looking G to looks kind of like a lowercase g, but with some little horns on top. We have our stacked G's in there. I think this looks kind of really quite similar to a treble clef. And then we regress back to what looks like a big fancy backwards 3 to me. As we then move on even further, we developed into this kind of design. And so if you know the treble clef, you will really know that this is pretty close. This is pretty close. And then from here, we developed into our treble clef that we all know today. And it looks something like this. I'm going to be honest, I think that's not my best treble clef. I think I can do it a little bit better. I'm going to have another go here. One more go. Here we go. That's a little bit better. I probably need to practice my treble clef drawing, to be honest, because I'm not quite happy with that. But that is kind of a little bit about our history. So let's have a little recap. We started off with the Numes, and they came about during Gregorian chant in the 9th century. The Numes consisted of dots and dashes like this, and they signified a relative pitch. So from a starting note, our dots and dashes signified notes on a relative scale. Initially there were no lines and no staves, but they were added by musical scribes over time. A G was used for the higher pitches, and our G clef developed into the treble clef over time, starting off with the 6, the G, our stacked clef, our little reverse 3, our final kind of rendition before the treble clef that we know today. So, I think that is probably enough on the history. I'd like to have a little bit of time to go over some basics before we get into learning our notes on the treble clef. There are kind of four keywords that I would like you to know today. The first keyword is stave, and now this is an example of one of our staves. A stave is a set of parallel lines on which notes are placed on or in between in the spaces. So they're placed on the line or the space, and that denotes a certain pitch. So a stave is a set of parallel lines, and notes are placed either on or between the lines to denote a certain pitch. The next word I'd like us to know is the word clef. And a clef is a symbol that we place at the beginning of a stave, and that denotes, or indicates even, it indicates the pitch of the notes. So we place our notes on the stave, and our clef indicates what the pitch of those notes are. Now a note, and that could be something like this. We'll draw a note over here. This is a semibreve. This is a note. And a note is a symbol that represents a pitch or rhythm. Today we're going to be looking at the pitch that these notes represent. And finally, pitch is how high or how low something is. How high or how low our note is. So those are our basics that we need to know. We need to know the stave, we need to know clefs, we need to know notes, and we also need to know pitch. That's what we would need to know for today. So let's go down to this one over here. When we are doing our notes on the treble clef, we firstly split them out into spaces and lines. Let's have a look at spaces first. There's just 4 spaces and 4 notes that we need to know. The notes are as follows. We have F on the bottom, A, C, and then E. And I remember this by saying we've got face in the space. So we have F, A, C, E, face in the space, or face in the spaces. F, A, C, E, face in the space. When we look at our lines, instead of a rhyme, there is a bit of a sentence. I'm not sure if I've left myself quite enough room here, but I'm sure we will make do. And the sentence goes like this. We say, every good boy deserves football. We say, every good boy deserves football. And that's the 2 kind of key sentences that you'll need to remember to help you learn the treble clef. We have face in the space, and every good boy deserves football. Face in the space, and every good boy deserves football. So, I thought now we could have a little bit of a test. Of course, in music, you might not always have the letters written underneath, and they might not always be in the order that you need them to be in. They might not be one next to another. They might be all over the place like this. So let's have a go at using our sentences to figure out these notes. So our first one, here we go. It's on the second line. Do you know what it is? Every good. So this first one, we have a G for good. Good. Next up, we have the third space, and I'm going to count up face in the space. I'm going to go F, A, C. So I know this one is C, from face in the space, all the way up at the top. Now this one is just one space above C, so I can go F, A, C, E. Moving down, F, A. And then last but not least, I'm going to give you a bit of time. Every good boy deserves. So D. Let's try this one more time, but I've got some examples already written down here. And these are some musical words. So all of these spell out a certain word. Let's try the first one together. On the third line, so I'm going to go every good boy for B. This second note is in the space. So we have F, A, and then it's on the second line, so every good G. Let's try this next one. Deserves. So we've got D for deserves, and I can see it over here as well. Just that gap in the middle. F-A. Bag. Dad. The bottom line, so we got egg. And then F-A. F-A-C. F-A-C-E. And then E. Very good boy deserves D. Bag, bag, dad, egg, aced. Let's have a look at this one down here. These two are a bit longer. Here we go. So we've got D, E, C, A, F, decaf. D-E-C-A-F, decaf. This last one is really long. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters long. 7 letters long. This one is 7 letters long. Let's do it. We've got F-A-C, F. It's not even F. What am I doing? F-A-C. We've got C. F-A-A. Every good boy. Every good boy. I think you can probably guess what the word is by now. F-A. Every good. And last but not least, we have every good boy deserves football. It's not that one. F-A-C-E, face in the space. We have face in the space. Our last word is cabbage. So using face in the space and every good boy deserves football, you can figure out all of the notes in the treble clef that are in the stave. All of the notes in the treble clef that are in the stave. Well, I think that just about covers all that I wanted to talk about today. I really hope that this has helped relax you, and you might have even learned something about the treble clef. You may even have improved how to read and play the treble clef. So, just to recap one final time. It started in the 9th century in the new maze, where they used dots and dashes. From relative pitch, they used F and C. G came along as higher pitches were used and compositions were composed. The G eventually turned into the treble clef. The G eventually turned into the treble clef. To read music, you need to know these four key statements. You need to know that a stave is a set of lines. The notes are placed on or between the lines, and they show different pitches. A clef is placed at the start of a stave, and the clef denotes what the pitches are on the different staves. Our notes are symbols that represent different pitches on the stave, and they can represent pitch and rhythm. And finally we have pitch. And pitch is how high or how low the note is. Pitch is how high or how low the note is. We use face in the space, and every good boy deserves football. And they tell us how to easily recognize the different pitches in the spaces and on the lines in the stave. And well, I really think that just about covers covers it today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have a lovely rest of your night, a lovely rest of your day, whatever time it may be with you. See you later. Stay chill.